Imagine you're in traffic late for an important meeting and someone cuts you off. Your heart pounds, your hands tighten on the wheel, and before you know it, you're yelling inside your car, absolutely livid. Not because of what happened, but because of what it meant to you. That driver didn't just cut you off in that moment. It felt like they disrespected you, ignored you, or made your already stressful morning worse out. Let's get real, most of us don't just wake up in the morning looking for a reason to be angry. Our anger, our frustration, our irritation, they all have roots. They come from somewhere deeper than the surface level moment that sets us off. If you want to never get angry and bothered by everyone around you, you have to start by understanding what actually triggers you and why. The surface fees. The source, imagine this, you're in a meeting, you're sharing your thoughts, and someone interrupts you. Immediately, you feel a rush of irritation. Maybe your chest tightens, your face gets hot, and your mind starts racing. Why do they always do this? What do they think? I have nothing valuable to say. Now pause. The surface level trigger here is simple. You were interrupted. But the real question is, why does this bother you so much? For some, it's just a minor annoyance. For others, it cuts deep, bringing up a lifetime of feeling ignored, overlooked, or dismissed. Triggers aren't about what's happening in the moment. They're about the meaning we attach to the moment. That's why two people can experience the exact same situation and react completely differently. Your emotional blueprint, our triggers, are shaped by our past experiences. Maybe you grew up in a home where you weren't heard, so now anytime someone interrupts you, it feels like proof that you still don't matter. Maybe you worked hard to prove yourself in a career where you were underestimated, so when someone dismisses your opinion, it feels like you're fighting for your worth all over again. When we don't take the time to recognize where our triggers come from, we stay trapped in a cycle of emotional reactivity. We keep getting angry at this person, that situation, this behavior, without realizing that the real fight isn't with them, it's with the wounds we haven't addressed. Breaking the cycle, turning triggers into teachers. Here's the truth. Triggers aren't the enemy. They're teachers. Every time you get disproportionately angry about something, it's a signal. Your emotions are trying to tell you, hey, there's something here you need to look at. So the next time something or someone sets you off, ask yourself, what exactly about this situation is bothering me? What belief is hiding underneath my reaction? Is this about what just happened, or is it connected to something deeper? When you do this, you stop reacting automatically and start responding intentionally. You realize that not every situation deserves the same level of emotional intensity. You begin to reclaim control over how you experience the world. Shifting from blame to ownership, it's easy to say, people just make me angry. But the hard truth, no one makes you feel anything. They might trigger a feeling, but that feeling is yours to understand, manage, and navigate. This isn't about letting people off the hook for bad behavior. It's about freeing yourself from being at the mercy of every annoying, frustrating, or difficult person you encounter. Because let's be real, there will always be rude people, careless people, and people who don't act the way you want them to. But when you own your triggers, they lose their power over you. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt irritated by someone's energy? Maybe they barely acknowledged you. Maybe they were short in their response, or maybe they said something that rubbed you the wrong way. In that moment, without even thinking, your mind starts racing. They don't respect me. They're so rude. They always act like this. What's their problem? This is judgment. It's our default setting as human beings. When something feels off, when someone acts in a way we don't like, our minds instantly fill in the blanks with stories. And let's be honest, those stories are never generous. We assume the worst, assign blame, and react based on the conclusions we've drawn. But here's the problem most of the time. Our assumptions are completely wrong. Now, imagine this what if, instead of judging, you got curious? What if instead of assuming someone's behavior is personal, you paused and asked, I wonder what's going on with them today? Could there be something I don't know? Is there a different way to look at this situation? When you choose curiosity over judgment, you shift from reacting emotionally to responding with wisdom. You give yourself the gift of perspective and with it, peace. Why judgment feels natural but keeps us stuck. Our brains are wired for quick conclusions. Thousands of years ago, this helped us survive. If someone from another tribe acted aggressively, it wasn't time to sit and analyze their childhood trauma. It was time to run or fight. But today, this instinct backfires. Instead of protecting us, it keeps us in a constant state of frustration. It makes us see enemies where there are none. It keeps us trapped in resentment over things that may not even be true. Judgment feels good in the moment. It gives us a sense of certainty. I know why they acted like that. I know what kind of person they are, but certainty isn't always truth. And when we cling to judgment, we close the door to understanding, connection, and emotional freedom. Curiosity, the antidote to anger and frustration. Curiosity changes the game. Instead of assuming you know someone's intentions, you admit that you don't. And in that space of openness, something powerful happens. You stop taking things personally. That coworker who snapped at you, maybe they're dealing with personal struggles. That friend who hasn't responded to your text, maybe they're overwhelmed, not ignoring you. The driver who cut you off, maybe they're rushing to an emergency, not deliberately disrespecting you. You give people the benefit of the doubt. People are complicated. They have bad days, stress, and emotional battles you'll never see. When you choose curiosity, you give grace not just to others, but to yourself. You stay in control of your emotions. Judgment fuels anger. Curiosity creates space. When you pause to consider different possibilities, you stop letting other people's behavior dictate your peace. Real-world application. How to choose curiosity over judgment. This isn't just a nice idea, it's a skill. And like any skill, it takes practice. Here's how you can start applying it today. 1, notice your automatic stories every time you feel irritated. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this person? Is this the only possible explanation? What if I'm wrong? Simply noticing your assumptions creates distance between you and your reaction. It gives you a moment to step back instead of spiraling into frustration. 2, ask yourself better questions. Curiosity is about asking questions that open up possibilities. Instead of, why are they such a jerk? Ask, what else could be going on with them? Why do they always ignore me? Ask, could they be distracted, stressed, or unaware? Why do people never appreciate me? Ask, am I expecting appreciation in a way they don't express it? Better questions lead to better emotions. 3, practice the maybe mindset. Whenever you feel slighted or annoyed, say to yourself, maybe there's more to this than I see. Maybe they're struggling with something. Maybe they didn't mean it the way I took it. Maybe this isn't about me at all. This simple habit creates space between your reaction and reality. It reminds you that there's always another side to the story. 4, reframe the situation. Imagine you're in line at a coffee shop and the barista seems rude and uninterested. Your first reaction might be frustration. Wow, terrible service. But what if instead you thought, maybe they're having the worst day of their life and still showed up to work? Maybe they just got bad news. Maybe they're exhausted. That small shift doesn't just change how you see them, it changes how you feel. You go from being annoyed to being compassionate. And in the process, you keep your own peace intact. The freedom that comes with curiosity. Judgment makes the world feel heavy. It makes every interaction feel personal, every slight feel intentional, every difficult person feel like a threat. Curiosity, on the other hand, lightens your load. It helps you navigate life without carrying unnecessary anger and resentment. It allows you to move through the world with a sense of ease because you no longer see every frustrating moment as an attack. You see it as a mystery to be understood, or even as something that has nothing to do with you at all. And when you make this shift, something beautiful happens. You stop being controlled by every little thing people say or do. You stop wasting energy on frustration that isn't serving you. You stop assuming the worst and start seeing people not just their actions, but their humanity. Not everyone deserves your emotional investment, but you deserve peace. And peace comes from understanding that most of what bothers you isn't personal, it's just life. So the next time you find yourself judging someone's behavior, pause, get curious, ask a better question, and watch how much lighter your life becomes. Have you ever said something in anger that you immediately regretted? Maybe you fired off a text you shouldn't have, snapped at someone who didn't deserve it, or reacted in a way that only made the situation worse. And then once the dust settled, you thought, if I had just taken a second to breathe, I wouldn't have handled it that way. This is why the pause is so powerful. It's the moment between trigger and reaction, between impulse and wisdom, between making things worse and making things better. And the truth is, most of us don't pause. We react immediately without thinking, letting our emotions take the wheel. But here's the good news. The ability to pause isn't something you're born with, it's something you can train. And once you do, you unlock a level of emotional freedom that most people never reach. Why we react instead of pause, let's get into the science for a second. Our brains are wired for quick reactions, especially when emotions like anger, fear, or frustration are involved. This goes all the way back to our ancestors, whose survival depended on reacting fast. If you saw a threat, a wild animal, an enemy, something dangerous, you didn't have time to pause and reflect. You had to act immediately, but in today's world, most of what triggers us isn't life or death. A rude comment, a disagreement, a stressful moment, these things might feel urgent, but they aren't actually threats. Yet our brains still react as if they are, making us lash out, shut down, or say things we don't mean. The pause gives us a chance to step out of survival mode. It tells our brain, hey, this isn't an emergency. Let's handle this with intention, not impulse. The difference between reaction and response, there's a world of difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is automatic, emotional, and often regrettable. It's snapping at your partner before you even know why you're mad. It's sending an angry email before considering the consequences. Responding is thoughtful, intentional, and based on wisdom. It's taking a breath, stepping back, and choosing a course of action that actually serves you. The pause is the bridge between the two. Without it, we are at the mercy of our emotions. With it, we regain control. How to build the habit of pausing in the heat of the moment isn't always easy. It takes practice. Here's how to train yourself to pause, even when emotions are running high. 1, become aware of your triggers. The first step is knowing what makes you react. Everyone has different emotional tripwires, things that set them off almost instantly. Maybe it's being interrupted, feeling ignored, or being criticized. Maybe it's a certain tone of voice or a specific kind of situation. Start paying attention to when you feel that sudden rush of anger or frustration. The more aware you are of your triggers, the more control you have over them. 2, use the 3-second rule when you feel a surge of emotion. Train yourself to pause for 3 seconds before responding. 3 seconds might not sound like much, but it's enough to take a breath. Shift from reaction mode to response mode. Ask yourself, is this how I want to handle this? Those 3 seconds can be the difference between saying something you regret and handling the situation with grace. 3, anchor your pause with a physical cue. Pausing is easier when you connect it to a physical action. Try taking a slow, deep breath, counting to 5 in your head, sipping water before responding, unclenching your jaw or relaxing your shoulders. This gives your brain a moment to reset, making it easier to think clearly. 4, ask yourself a key question. A simple question can completely shift your perspective during a pause. Try asking, will this matter tomorrow? What's the bigger picture here? What's the outcome I actually want? Is my reaction helping or hurting me? Most of the time, you'll realize that your initial reaction wasn't going to serve you. This clarity can save you from unnecessary conflict and stress. 5, practice micro pauses daily. The more you practice pausing in small moments, the easier it becomes in big ones. Start with everyday situations. Before responding to a frustrating email, pause and take a breath. Before reacting to an annoying comment, pause and ask yourself if it's worth your energy. Before speaking in a disagreement, pause and consider your words. Over time, pausing will become second nature. The pause in action, a real life example, let's say you're in a meeting at work. You've been preparing for this presentation for weeks, and just as you're about to explain your idea, someone cuts you off and dismisses your point. You feel anger immediately rising. Your instinct might be to fire back, to interrupt them right back, to prove your point with force, to let your frustration be known. But instead, you pause. You take a slow breath. You remind yourself, this isn't an emergency. Reacting emotionally won't help me here. Then, instead of snapping, you say calmly, I'd love to finish my thought before we move on. This point is important. That small pause turned a moment of conflict into a moment of strength. You stayed in control. You held your power. And instead of regretting your reaction later, you handled the situation with confidence and clarity. The unexpected benefits of pausing: once you start practicing the power of the pause, you'll notice some incredible changes in your life. You become less reactive. Things that used to instantly anger or upset you won't have the same effect. You'll have space to choose your response instead of being ruled by emotion. You handle conflicts better. Arguments won't escalate as quickly. You'll be able to communicate more effectively because you're responding from a place of calm, not chaos. You feel more in control of your emotions. Instead of feeling like your emotions control you, you'll feel like you have control over them. You'll have the ability to pause, assess, and then act. You improve your relationships. The pause helps you avoid unnecessary fights, miscommunications, and harsh words. You'll find yourself having healthier, more meaningful interactions with others. Life is unpredictable. People will disappoint you. Challenges will arise. Things won't always go as planned. If you don't have emotional resilience, every setback, every criticism, and every inconvenience can feel overwhelming. But if you do build resilience, you become unshakable. You stop being knocked down by every storm and instead learn how to stand tall, adapt, and move forward with strength. But here's the truth: emotional resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. So let's talk about how to stop getting knocked down by every little thing, how to bounce back from adversity, and how to develop the kind of inner strength that allows you to handle life's challenges without losing yourself in the process. What is emotional resilience? Emotional resilience is your ability to handle stress, setbacks, and hardships without breaking down or losing your sense of self. It's what allows some people to stay calm under pressure, recover quickly from disappointments, and keep going even when things feel difficult. It doesn't mean you don't feel emotions. It doesn't mean you don't get hurt. It simply means that you don't let those emotions control you. You don't let life's difficulties define you. Instead, you develop the skills to navigate them with clarity and strength. Think of it like this: a fragile glass shatters when dropped. A rubber ball, on the other hand, bounces back. Building emotional resilience is about becoming the rubber ball, able to recover, adapt, and keep going no matter what comes your way. Why emotional resilience matters: if you don't develop emotional resilience, life can feel exhausting. Every little setback feels like the end of the world. Every criticism feels personal. Every challenge feels impossible. But when you build resilience, you gain stronger mental health. You stop getting overwhelmed by stress and anxiety. Better relationships, you don't take things so personally and can communicate more effectively. Increased confidence, you trust yourself to handle challenges, no matter how tough they seem. More inner peace, you stop overreacting to every inconvenience and start moving through life with ease. So how do you actually build this kind of resilience? Let's break it down. 1, shift your mindset. See challenges as growth opportunities. Most people see adversity as a threat, something to fear, avoid, or feel victimized by. But resilient people see challenges as opportunities for growth. Every difficult situation you've ever faced has shaped you in some way. It's either taught you something, made you stronger, or prepared you for something bigger. Lost your job, maybe it's an opportunity to explore something better. Going through a breakup, maybe it's a chance to rebuild yourself and discover what you really need in a partner. Facing a difficult boss or coworker, Maybe it's a lesson in patience, communication, or standing up for yourself. The question to ask yourself isn't, why is this happening to me? But rather, what can I learn from this? When you change how you see challenges, you change how you handle them too. Manage your emotions instead of letting them control you. Resilient people don't let emotions run their lives. They feel their emotions, but they don't get lost in them. Here's how to start managing your emotions like a resilient person. Pause before reacting. When something upsets you, take a deep breath. Don't respond immediately. Give yourself time to think. Label your emotions. Instead of saying, I'm so mad, try saying, I'm feeling frustrated because I don't feel heard. Naming emotions helps you process them rationally. Practice emotional detachment. Remind yourself, just because I feel this way now doesn't mean it's permanent. Emotions pass. You don't have to act on every feeling you have. The goal isn't to suppress emotions, it's to handle them with wisdom rather than impulse. 3, build a strong internal foundation. If your self-worth is based on external factors, people's opinions, your job, your relationship status, then your confidence will always be shaky. True emotional resilience comes from building an unshakable inner foundation. Here's how. A, develop self-trust. Trust yourself to handle whatever comes your way. Even if you don't have all the answers, remind yourself, I have gotten through hard things before. I can do it again. B, set clear personal boundaries. Resilient people don't let others dictate their emotions. Learn to say, I'm not going to take this personally. That's their issue, not mine. I have control over my response, even if I don't have control over the situation. C, develop a no matter what mindset. Tell yourself, no matter what happens, I will keep going. No matter how tough it gets, I will figure it out. No matter what people say, I define my own worth. When you believe in your own resilience, life's challenges feel smaller. 4, strengthen your support system. Resilience doesn't mean doing everything alone. Strong people lean on others when needed. Surround yourself with positive, supportive people. Being around emotionally strong people makes you stronger. Ask for help when you need it. There's no weakness in reaching out. In fact, resilient people know when to ask for support. Let go of toxic relationships. If someone constantly drains your energy or makes you feel bad about yourself, distance yourself. Resilience isn't about pushing through alone. It's about knowing when to hold yourself up and when to let others support you. 5, master the art of letting go. Some people stay stuck in the past, replaying their mistakes, disappointments, and hurts over and over again. But holding on to the past only weakens your resilience. Resilient people let go. Let go of perfectionism. You don't have to have everything figured out. Growth is messy. Let go of old failures. Mistakes are lessons, not life sentences. Learn, then move on. Let go of needing control. Not everything is in your hands, and that's okay. Focus on what is within your power. When you stop wasting energy on things you can't change, you free up energy for things you can. The art of protecting your peace without pushing people away. Have you ever felt exhausted after being around certain people? Have you ever said yes to something when you really wanted to say no and then resented it? Do you ever feel like people take advantage of your kindness, or like you're carrying the emotional weight of everyone around you? If so, you're not alone. And the answer isn't to build walls and shut people out, it's to build boundaries. Boundaries are not about keeping people away. They're about protecting your peace, your energy, and your well-being. They allow you to be open, generous, and kind without being drained, manipulated, or disrespected. And here's the truth, if you don't set boundaries, other people will set them for you. They will decide how much of your time, energy, and emotional capacity they take. Not because they're bad people, but because people will always take as much as you allow. So let's talk about how to set healthy, strong boundaries without guilt, without fear, and without pushing people away. What are boundaries? And what they're not? A boundary is a clear, intentional limit that you set in your relationships, work, and life. It's a way of saying, this is what I will allow. This is what I won't allow. Here's what boundaries are: a sign of self-respect. a way to protect your energy and emotional well-being, a way to improve relationships by making expectations clear, a tool for creating balance in your life. And here's what boundaries are not: being rude, selfish, or unkind, cutting people off completely unless necessary, controlling or manipulating others, a sign of weakness. People sometimes confuse boundaries with barriers, but they are completely different. A boundary is a gate. It allows healthy relationships in while keeping toxicity out. A barrier is a wall. It blocks everything, even good, meaningful connections. We're not here to build walls. We're here to build strong, healthy boundaries that create peace, clarity, and better relationships. Why boundaries are hard to set, and why you must set them anyway. Let's be real, setting boundaries isn't always easy. If it were, more people would do it. Here are the biggest reasons why people struggle with boundaries. 1, fear of disappointing others. Many of us are people pleasers by nature. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, so we say yes when we really mean no. But here's the truth: saying yes to things you don't want to do isn't kindness, it's self-betrayal. People who truly respect and care about you will understand your boundaries. If someone gets upset because you set a boundary, it means they were benefiting from you not having one. 2, guilt. Many of us were raised to believe that putting ourselves first is selfish. But boundaries aren't about being selfish, they're about being self-respecting. Think of it like this: if you never recharge your phone, it dies. If you never recharge yourself, you burn out. Setting boundaries ensures that you have the energy, peace, and mental space to show up as your best self. 3, the belief that it's just easier to give and yes in the short term. Saying yes might seem easier. It avoids conflict, keeps the peace, and prevents awkward conversations. But in the long term, it leads to resentment, exhaustion, and burnout. Every time you overextend yourself to keep someone else comfortable, you are making yourself uncomfortable. It's not worth it. The 5 types of boundaries you need in your life. Boundaries aren't just about saying no to people. They apply to every part of your life. Here are 5 essential types of boundaries and how to set them. 1, emotional boundaries, protecting your energy. Not everyone deserves access to your emotions. Some people dump their negativity, stress, and drama onto you without considering how it affects you. Healthy emotional boundary: I care about you, but I can't be your therapist. Another example: I can support you, but I can't fix this for you. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. 2, time boundaries, saying no to overcommitment. Your time is valuable. If you don't protect it, people will take as much of it as they want. Healthy time boundary: I can't commit to that right now. Another example: I have other priorities, so I won't be able to help this time. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your time. 3, work boundaries, preventing burnout in a world that glorifies overworking. Setting work boundaries is essential. Healthy work boundary: I don't answer emails after 6 p.m. Another example: I am not available on weekends. You are not a machine. Work can wait. 4, physical boundaries, respecting your space. Some people invade personal space, touch without permission, or make you uncomfortable. Healthy physical boundary: I don't like hugs, but I'd love a handshake. Another example: I need some alone time to recharge. Your body and space are yours to protect. 5, digital boundaries, controlling your online presence. Social media and digital communication can be emotionally draining if you don't set boundaries. Healthy digital boundary: I don't reply to messages immediately. Another example: I take social media breaks to protect my mental health. You don't have to be available 24/7. How to set boundaries without feeling guilty: be clear and direct. You don't need to over-explain or apologize. A simple "I can't do that" is enough. Use I statements. Instead of "you're being too much," say "I need some space right now." Stay firm. Some people will push back. That doesn't mean your boundary is wrong, it means it's working. Practice. Setting boundaries takes time. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. What happens when you set boundaries? You feel more peace. No more saying yes when you mean no. You stop feeling drained. Your energy goes where you choose. You attract healthier relationships. People who respect your boundaries are the ones worth keeping. You become more confident. You realize you don't have to bend over backwards to be liked.